Hello again, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of people in the news in North Texas. My guest today is Bryan Wilkinson, who is running for Denton County Sheriff in the Republican primary in March 2020. Thanks for being here, Bryan.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
If you would please begin by giving our viewers some background information.
Okay, just real quick in general, I started out in the United States Marine Corps. I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Graduated in 1990, did a 6-year enlistment in the United States Marine Corps. Great time, I had a great time there, learned a ton. I was on an amphibious raid company in Mogadishu, Somalia. Ultimately, I ended up becoming a Marine Scout Sniper, and then one of the highlights of my time there was I was able to be an instructor at the 1st Marine Division Scout Sniper School. After that, I kicked around a little bit, had to transition into the civilian world. I moved here to Denton County. Ended up going and starting to work at the sheriff's office in 1999 as a detention officer. I started there. I couldn't believe that they paid me money to work in the jail. I was like, man, this was the greatest job in the world. So ended up starting in 1999 in the sheriff's office. Became a corporal back there. I was a supervisor in the pod system. So I worked in 2 different places in the jail. Ended up going out into patrol for a couple years. Went from patrol to warrants. That was great. Looking for fugitives was one of the best jobs I had at the sheriff's office. Ended up doing narcotics and special crimes for about 4 years, and then went back to the warrants unit. And then ultimately I went through the rank of sergeant, that was a really fun time. I had a great time as a sergeant over the warrant unit, and then I was promoted to lieutenant over the whole warrant division, which was extradition, warrants, and then the civil and civilian section as well.
Well, that's a pretty impressive background. So for those who may not know, tell the people, what is the overall job of a county sheriff?
Well, the overall job of a county sheriff is basically is a conservator of the peace. One of the things that we're mandated to do at the sheriff's office is run the jail. And again, like I said, I started back in the jail in that place. I couldn't believe they paid me the money to do that job. So we have to do that. But there's also a lot of other things that the sheriff's office does that people really don't realize about. We have to keep all the warrants. Of course, that was one of my main jobs at the sheriff's office, was the warrant section. So we get all the warrants that come out of the district attorney's office, roughly between 8,000 and 10,000 warrants a year. As when I was still there, keeping track of that. We also have mental health, we have patrol, all those different things. So really the main part is a conservator of the peace and running that jail.
So it's pretty much an administrative position, like
Absolutely,
you're in
yes,
charge of the whole McGill. You were a lieutenant in the sheriff's
Yes, sir.
office,
I
right?
was, yeah.
What is the job of a lieutenant here?
So the job of the lieutenant position that I held was over the warrants unit. I was over, again, the extradition side, the warrant, the guys out enforcing and serving the warrants, criminal warrants, everything from Class B all the way to capital murder warrants. And then I also had a civilian section that was headed up by a sergeant who did the civil section, or the civil side of the warrants. So as that lieutenant, basically, I just overseen. I had to make sure that people were getting picked up across the country. I had to make sure that my deputies out on the road were safe, that they got all the equipment and training that they needed to be able to go out there and do that. And then I also had to be able to coordinate everything as the warrants were coming in and being pushed out to different people.
All right, just as an informational for the public, does the sheriff have the same peace officer status as town and city police officers, such as making arrests and giving out traffic tickets and stuff?
Absolutely. So on the detention side, those are detention officers or jailers, state jailers. They all hold state jailer license. So they don't have arrest authorities, but once you cross over into the operation side, you have to be a TCOL certified peace officer. And yes, they have all their arrest authorities and everything else that a normal police officer does.
Would the sheriff's office cooperate, for example, or collaborate with the police in investigations?
Yes, they do. One of the things that I did as a lieutenant, or most of my career, I was on SWAT. I was a SWAT team leader for about 12 years, and we worked very, very closely with all of our local, state, and federal partners in law enforcement. We did a lot of operations for the federal government as far as serving high-risk warrant
So
services.
if someone were to dial 911, which departments respond to the emergency? Is that just a local?
Well, it depends. I know the sheriff's office, our dispatch, our 911 center, I can't give you an exact number, but it's over 20 that we do 911 calls for all the different local cities around the county. So when people call 911, it's going to go to Denton County, unless, like Flower Mound here, they have their own dispatch center. So if you're in Flower Mound, they're going to call 911. It's going to go to Flower Mound dispatch.
Right, but the sheriff's department can also be a backup in situations like that.
Yes, sir.
Now, a question that some people might ask is, what happens if a city officer and a deputy sheriff arrive on the scene at the same time? Who's in charge?
Well, I don't think anybody's in charge. So let's say a Denton County patrol deputy comes to Flower Mound or to Louisville to back that officer up. Now, the Louisville officer will take the lead in that, but I don't think that they're going to be in charge. I think they're going to be able to work together.
Right. That's the collaboration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because we used to, when I was a cop in New York City, whoever got to the scene first, that was yours.
Right. Yep. Yep.
But it's all. But we didn't have a sheriff's department like that, so it was all the New York City cops. So everybody responded. The only thing was whether or not it was on that side of the street or this side of the street, because that could be the other precinct.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, there was always that kind of cooperation. If you're elected, what would you do differently than the current sheriff?
Well, one of the things that I'm running on is leadership. I love pulling potential out of people. I'm super motivated about being a sheriff, going in there and changing. One of the biggest things I want to put in place is training. I run my own training company, and I work for a couple other training companies around the country right now. And I'm a big proponent on training. I want to have a good training cadre at the sheriff's office so we can train up our deputies and our detention officers up to a certain level. What that does is that gives the best possible organization for the citizens out there. So when we respond, we're going to be the top trained people.
All right. I was going to ask you also, what are the qualifications for someone to become a member of the sheriff's department?
Well, that's the great thing about the sheriff's office, Bob, is you can go in as a detention officer, and like I said, my goal wasn't even to go to the street. I love the detention side so much. You don't have to be a peace officer to go. Once you get in there and you start doing a good job, we can start sending people to the police academy, and then we can get them out on the road if that's the career path that they want to take. So as long as you don't have a criminal history and you got a good background, you can come to the sheriff's office, get hired right in as a detention officer. And I think that's a great place to start because it's kind of a controlled environment, working with people. So that's basically it.
So I guess I would just throw in, there are deputy sheriffs on patrol regularly. I mean, they just do regular patrol as well. You see those cars going around. They're not specifically on assignment, they're on patrol, just like city officers would be, right? All right, well, we're starting to wrap up, Brian, so is there anything else you'd like to add before we close?
No, the biggest thing is I'm super motivated about becoming a sheriff of Denton County. I really want to make the best agency for the citizens, so when they get a call or when a Denton County sheriff's deputy shows up on a call in their area, that they're getting the best possible service that they can get.
All right, well, I want to thank you for being here. Good meeting you, Brian.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
And good luck in the election.
All right, thank you, sir.
And thank you for watching.